According to this judge's order, that is on hold at least temporarily until there can be some kind of hearing.
ABC's Trevor Ault. A manhunt continues for a Washington state father suspected of killing his 3 school-age daughters after a court-ordered visitation. Authorities found the bodies were near a campground. Police say Travis Decker could be armed and dangerous. And on Wall Street, stocks ending mixed today. This is ABC News. House Republicans are ramping up their investigation of what they've labeled President Biden's mental and physical decline while in office. The House Oversight Committee chair asking several top advisors now to testify.
The letters have been sent to 5 senior Biden aides, former Chief of Staff Ron Klain, and top advisors Anita Dunn, Mike Donnellan, Bruce Reed, and Steve Ricchetti. House Oversight Chair James Comer says he seeks to know who made key decisions in the administration, and he's demanded the aides appear for transcribed interviews. Last year, the Biden White House rebuffed similar requests Comer made to have 3 other senior advisors and Biden's doctor answer questions. Comer has now renewed his request and says he'll issue subpoenas if they don't voluntarily appear. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
The USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service issued a public health alert for ground beef products over concerns it may be contaminated with E. coli. The raw ground beef was packed and produced by Organic Rancher between May 22nd and May 23rd and shipped to Whole Foods nationwide. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Are you over 50 and constantly feeling tired, bloated, or just a little off? Don't ignore it. Those could be signs that your liver is crying for help. As we age, our liver, which is essential for metabolism, digestion, immunity, and detoxification, needs extra support and protection. If neglected, it can leave you feeling sluggish and constantly off your game. That's where Active Liver from New Nordic comes in. Available in easy-to-take tablets or delicious gummies, Active Liver combines powerful natural ingredients like turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract to help support healthy liver function. With Active Liver, you're giving your body an essential daily defense against toxins from alcohol, fatty foods, and sweets, helping you reclaim your energy, improve digestion, lose the bloat, and strengthen your immunity so you can look and feel your best again. Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meyer Grocery, or online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day, the Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd McKinley, and John Gorman.
Welcome back to the program, folks. It's Wednesday evening here in the greatest experiment in the history of humankind, the greatest country in all of human settlement, these United States of America. What do you think of that introduction there, Todd McKinley?
I like it a lot, and I'm looking at another angle here from John. He switched it up on us again. What's going on, John?
I like it. God, I did not switch that up. I just can't get the camera to work. I would try half an hour to fix that
John,
thing. So,
John, I would caution you about your use of the Lord's name. We have a guest on tonight who might take exception to that.
Oh no, I'm in earnest. I'm sorry, no, Muddy. I did try.
Guys, we'll have a guest on here shortly at about quarter after the hour. But in the meantime, John, actually, I like that angle. I mean, I don't mind seeing the back of your head. We can see the station call sign there. That's pretty cool. Yeah. But John Grosvenor's up in the studio in Nashua, New Hampshire, as the three of us do this from around the country. Todd McKinley in East Tennessee. I'm here in Central Pennsylvania. And John Grosvenor up in the studio in Nashua, New Hampshire. And tonight we're going to talk about a lot of things, gosh, as always. But we have a guest on tonight. We're going to chat with him in the first hour about a number of topics here. And so who booked our guest tonight? Was it Todd or John?
I think John did.
I did, yeah.
Okay, well, John, you want to give us a little hint as to why you booked our guest for the audience, because they're not privy to our conversations.
Well, we were contacted by someone who was offering the guest to be on our show, and he looked like a very interesting kind of person who happens to be a member of the White House Council on Faith. What is that? Faith. Darn it.
Faith Council.
Faith Council. Thank you.
There you go.
I'm
I
messing
got
it
you.
all.
Close. It was close enough for government work. We got it.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Everything's just good enough for government. I know.
I mean, look, you can be sloppy again for government work because Elon's gone and Doge is done.
Right.
So-
We can go back to this one whatever we want to, right?
Exactly. We're going to talk about that later tonight too, and all the nonsense going on here. People getting mad at Elon Musk needlessly over their bloated, big, ugly bill. I see the
little
White
White
House,
House.
Tumbler that Todd's got there.
White House
Yeah.
communications.
Communication.
agency,
And
baby.
now I
Yeah.
don't have one of those. I do have a White
I'll
House
get you
one.
one.
But okay, that sounds like a good plan there.
What do they got?
Speaking of which,
Does the White House have like its own store,
Gift
where,
shop,
like
yeah.
in-house
Yeah.
store, and you just
So White House Navy Mess has one. White House, all the agencies that fall under White House White House Military Office (WAMO) has some sort of store, trinket store to buy stuff. And it helps them raise money for MWR stuff and going away functions, stuff
So-
like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because when I was last time at the DOT building, they didn't like lead me out through the gift shop like Disney or something, so I didn't know.
well,
I remember,
everybody's got one. There's one at CIA too.
I remember when I was toward DIA, a friend of mine was working over there. He showed me around. On the way out, he took me to the gift shop. He's like, I have to take you to everybody here to the gift shop. So I was like, all right, sounds good.
Yeah, well, the DIA gift shop's actually not bad. The CIA one's
No.
pretty Gucci, I'll tell you that much. I mean, just think about this. You go to the Central Intelligence Agency, you walk in,
Ooh.
you do your top secret stuff, you walk down, they take you to the gift shop, you walk out with all kinds of CIA bling.
Yeah, that's what it is. They get you in there to buy all their stuff. And
Do they have,
you're
like,
out,
plastic
what happened
badges you
today?
can
I
buy
had a
and put-
meeting, but I spent more time in the gift shop.
Do they
No,
have
that-
do they have fake plastic badges you can buy to stuff? In your
No,
wallet?
I make this with my inkjet printers.
Yeah, right.
So when
I
you
would not
when you
spend
raid
money on the
somebody's
fake IDs. I'll
protest,
make
that's
them
what
my
you
own.
do.
Exactly right. Hello, I'm Agent Hernandez. I'm from ICE. Welcome and goodbye.
That's a way to break up a crowd at home.
Come with me.
Hey, where are you from? ICE. Run the fields. Oh man, we're gonna have fun with that tonight in the second hour. But our guest will be coming on in just a couple minutes. We're going to talk about the Trump administration, about his experience there, and the topic of faith. You know, and maybe we could tackle this with him. I'm not so sure if he's ready to talk about it or it's something he wants to talk about. But you know, the myth that leftists come up with there, Todd, about the separation of church and state. The
Right.
phrase doesn't appear anywhere in the Constitution.
Does
Nowhere.
not. Yeah, you're free to exercise your own religion or not exercise religion, but you're not free from religion anywhere. I mean, you can have a prayer, whatever, but you can't force people. But you don't have freedom from religion. People think you have freedom from religion. It's stupid.
Well, what they're trying to do is take the moral underpinnings of society,
Yeah.
founded on Judeo-Christian tenets, and
Yeah.
just eliminate that with this secular communist nonsense. And they've been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
And I grew up, hearing that phrase, separation of church and state.
Congress
until
shall
actually-
pass no law, and that's all it says.
That's right. You cannot have a state religion like the
Bingo.
Anglican Church in England.
Yep.
That's why we have it, because there was a state religion. And
Yep.
so that's the bottom line. Doesn't mean you can't have faith in schools, you can't have prayer, you can't have biblical sayings on currency or on buildings. That's utter nonsense.
Yep.
These people need to be excised from the body politic, taken out. Well, I'll leave it at that. We don't want to get carried away here tonight.
Don't get too much. Yeah.
We don't want to
Tried
get
to
carried
mind his
away.
manners here. He knows who's listening behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. We got a guest in. Guys, look, are you ready to bring him in? Why don't we bring our guest in
Yeah,
here? We
sure.
got to get him started here. So, folks, our guest tonight is Pastor Jackson. Now, I'm going to try to pronounce this because it's German, and I think I heard somebody say Lahmeyer. That's how we pronounce it in German. Lahmeyer is, I hope that's correct. Is that correct, Pastor?
On, man, and just being backstage. I'm excited to be on tonight. I think we're going to have a little bit of fun.
Oh, look, he's a little too energetic here. We're going to have to give him a little chill here. So is that how you pronounce your surname, or is that, or do you, okay.
That's exactly right. Jackson Lahmeyer.
There you go. There you go. So it sounds like an Oklahoma accent, is it?
That very much so. Tulsa, Oklahoma, to be specific.
Oh, speaking of which, you've got a mayor that, or is it the mayor or governor that wants I think it's the mayor wants reparations for the Tulsa riots.
Yep, new mayor.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting story. We will talk about in a second. I don't know if you want to address that, but welcome to the program. I understand that you are involved with the White House and faith.
So just, President Trump signed that executive order of establishing the White House Faith Office. First time it's a standalone office in the West Wing. And, it's been an honor to be up there, be a part of it. And in the first 100 days of the Trump administration, over 1,000 pastors had already been brought up to the White House to pray and to worship and to pray over the country. And so it's off to the races, doing really well. But to what you guys were talking about earlier, the purpose of the White House Faith Office is to actually protect religious liberty, because in this nation, to your point, we're not from religion. We have freedom of religion, and religious liberty has to be protected because it's kind of like the foundation of our fabric as a society, yet it's been under attack, especially from Obama, and then accelerated under Joe Biden. And so thank God for President Trump establishing this office to make sure that we can practice our faith freely without feelings of discrimination from our government or being attacked like Jewish people are right now.
Yeah. Well, Pastor, in the 2016 campaign, arguably, we have the data to actually prove this. It was Christian evangelicals who helped push President Trump over places like Pennsylvania, right here in the heart of central Pennsylvania. Evangelicals played a major role, and the backing he got from pastors and their flocks to support President Trump, which a lot of people found very odd. A lot of people look at President Trump, multiple marriages, he's a sinner. I think Christ said we're supposed to forgive sinners. But anyway, so a lot of people found that there was an incongruity there with President Trump's lifestyle as a businessman and his personal life, yet this support from people of faith. I didn't really see any problem there. I mean, did we miss something? Maybe it's just the media that misled us.
Well, actually, I think it's an interesting thing. So during the 24 campaign, I led the coalition of pastors for Trump. So I went around the country recruiting pastors to mobilize the evangelical vote in 24. But in 16, there was that, oh my gosh, there's pastors who are actually supporting Donald Trump, and he's an American playboy and had all these marriages and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, how could Christians and pastors support that guy whenever you had others, I won't name names, like Ted Cruz, who played the role as, the perfect Christian, but came very across as phony, right? I'll just say he came across very phony. Donald Trump came across as authentic. He told you what he actually thought, and he didn't use Christianity as a means of leverage to gain votes. He said he was a Christian. He was not perfect. Everyone knew that, but he was honest. He was honest. And Christians, I believe, because we're always given the cookie cutter politician on the Republican side that has to be a
Yep.
They got to quote some Bible verses, although they're so awkward when they do it. And you're just like, you're trying way too hard.
So inauthentic.
I said, Trump was authentic. And I think that was the attraction. The attraction was we have been manipulated, lied to, stabbed in the back by these Christian politicians, because the biggest enemy we face politically is not the crazy radicals. We know what they're going to do. It's our own Republicans who say one thing and then do something totally else. And that's been the biggest. So Trump was a breath of fresh air, I think is the best way to describe it.
Well, he was genuine. I think that's the bottom line. Yeah, he's a genuine thing. And that's the thing about President Trump. I guess we share that in common. You know where you stand with me. I'm not going to sit here and play games with you. And Trump doesn't play games. And so a lot of my audience that tunes in for this program comes out of South Africa. And they tuned into a very disingenuous performance by their president who came, and they love President Trump's genuine behavior in that. But that's a whole other story there. But go ahead.
Did anybody know that the Oval Office, you could dim the lights? I've been in the Oval Office several times. I had no idea you could dim the lights.
Todd do. I do. and I gotta say, I see that you obviously watched that. That is classic. And is Natalie here? Can we dim the lights? Oh my goodness. Yeah. I actually had a bucket of popcorn for that because I was waiting for this meeting, and I'm sitting here eating the popcorn. Some of the people got angry at me because they could hear me crunching the popcorn on my microphone because it picks it up. I apologize for that, but it was, and then the worst part for me, Pastor, was when President Ramaphosa said, President Trump, have they told you where this is? I've never seen this before. And President Trump, this just doesn't miss me. He goes, it's in South Africa. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
That's outside your house, buddy, right there.
Actually, not that demonstration, but there's a cross monument called the Wit-Kreuz Monument, the White Cross Monument, located on the major highway, right? You drive past it to go to his game ranch in the north of the country. But this wasn't that. So he obviously knows about this, just nothing but a liar. But Pastor, so how is that going? Is that like a once a month or a fortnightly thing? Do you see the president there?
Well, so the faith office is an everyday thing in the White House. There are staffers. It is led by Pastor Paula White and then Jenny Korn. And then you have your White House aides that are there running the faith office. But it's typically like every day pastors are coming up. I'm obviously not in DC every day. I live in Tulsa. I go to DC about once or twice a week has kind of been the flow up to this point. But I'm not there every day, and neither are all the other pastors. It's just bringing leaders up. One, you got to pray for the president, which the president wants, by the way. The president loves it when us pastors go into the Oval and pray for him. He requested, he asked for it, and you guys know this. To get time with the president is not the easiest thing in the world. And, there's no political gain to bring pastors into the Oval Office to pray. There's no political gain to bring pastors into the office to have a conversation. But the president recognizes, he even said it. We don't just want God in America. We need God in America. I mean, that's Trump's own words. He gets it. After Butler, he came to the conclusion, he has said it so many times, God saved my life for a purpose. And that purpose, I believe, is to save America. That he genuinely believes that. And so the faith office is up and running. Over 1,000 pastors, like I said, in the first 100 days, coming up to the White House, being briefed, praying, all those things, and then protecting religious liberty. I mean, did you guys see what happened over in Washington with the Christian outreach in the park, and then Antifa coming and violently attacking them and throwing water balloons full of urine and just all this stuff? Those are the type of things that if we don't stop them now, they're only going to get progressively worse.
Well, 100%. And we've got that happening. We've got synagogues being attacked in Pittsburgh, famously, and many others, anti-Semites attacking, especially this Free Palestine crowd attacking Jews around the country, and not just Jews. The couple that were murdered, one of them was Christian. It was presumed he was Jewish because he worked for the Israeli embassy, and targeting. But, I noticed something, Pastor, when I was a young man. And unfortunately, I'm going to mention when I was a young man. So, but when I was a young man in the late 70s, early 80s, and I was off to university, I noticed that it started to become fashionable in American media to make fun of evangelicals and to criticize them. And it became the norm in the media. And it became such a thing that I think a lot of us sort of got brainwashed and indoctrinated that it was okay to dismiss Christians. And I didn't really dismiss Christians, but I didn't push back. I didn't when this was going on. But it's gotten progressively worse. And it's gone from Christians to white males, to white people, to patriotism, to even black people are patriots. Anybody, it's very disturbing how this propaganda that's come from people who have no faith other than their atheism, and not just atheists, but people who really, for whatever reason, hate America because I think they don't understand our history or what the ideals, because America is not an ethnicity. It's not a faith, although we're founded on Judeo-Christian values. It's not your skin color. It's an idea. And so, I mean, you're a couple years younger than me. So have you seen this? Do you know this history? And do you agree with my assessment that it kind of started back then and Christians have been really rubbished for the past 40 years?
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, it's marginal, slowly moving inch by inch. But, if you move an inch every single year and you go 40 years, well, all of a sudden now you've moved 40 inches and you didn't even realize you made that kind of movement. And that's what's happened. And I can speak on what has been discovered in regards to the anti-Christian bias within our federal government. So the president set up a task force to eradicate the anti-Christian bias. And a lot of people, we have an anti-Christian bias in our federal government. Oh my goodness. From the FBI, IRS, DOJ, all of these federal agencies, the ATF, these agencies had been directed to target Christians in our country. And a lot of it is being revealed right now. There are some great examples that are on the official White House website. If you just go look up the anti-Christian bias, it's there, specific examples. There's more and more that is coming to the surface. And it appears as if a lot of this started during the Obama years, and they burrowed themselves in through these different agencies. And through Biden, it accelerated. And thank goodness the White House Faith Office is there to look into this, specifically look for this, expose it, and then make sure it never happens again.
Well, and in fact, it's quite insidious. We know that the IRS has targeted Christian groups and non-government organizations, denying them tax-exempt status. They've been caught red-handed. Lois Lerner, for that was for the Tea Party folks, but not for Christian groups. But similar sort of thing.
Yes.
We also we see a very different treatment of those ghouls who seek to murder American citizens in the womb through abortion. We see how they're treated with kid gloves, and those who protest abortion peacefully walking on the sidewalk or street are arrested and imprisoned as felons for 5 years. It's sickening what's happening here. I don't understand, Pastor, whether you're a person of faith or not. I mean, Todd and I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and that oath, incumbent with that, came an effort to do as little harm as possible and protect life and liberty. I don't understand how people who take an oath to defend the Constitution, either in uniform or people in political office because they take an oath, how they can be in favor of terminating the life of a child in the womb. And I don't mean to drag into an abortion argument, but I just want to make that point because it also goes in line with this antipathy towards Christians.
Well, I think the value of life, Christians have a high value of life because we believe that God created life and created every life intentionally. So we have a value of life. Unfortunately, people who are not people of faith, they don't really see intentionality in regards to life. The argument is, well, it's by random chance that you're here, or just there's nihilism, and so there's not a value of a life. And then there's this obsession. I mean, you really can call it an obsession. There is an obsession with making sure that abortion is not just there, but it is shoved down the throats of younger people as a primary option. I have to tell you guys, I became a dad at 17 years of age. This was during my wild years. Everyone told me, you got to have an abortion. You got to have an abortion because your life is over. That baby's life, that was the standard that was set for me at 17, but God saved my life at that point. And now I got a 15-year-old daughter. My life wasn't ruined. She is amazing. And I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine if that would have happened, where I would actually be today. And so there's this evil, evil, evil push for abortion. And thankfully, it's now in the hands of the states. And for some cases, that's good. Like my state, Oklahoma, we're nearly abortion free. I understand in some other states, it's a different story. But now we got to take this fight to all these different states and get legislation passed through the state legislature to end abortion.
Well, and I've got a couple questions before I turn it over to Todd, let him get in here. But I want to make a point before they do that. We get the nonsense from the political left about how America has a declining birth rate. We're not replaced, but that's a lie. We have 800,000 million abortions per year in this country. If those children were born, we would more than a replenishment rate. We wouldn't have to talk about a declining birth rate. So it's utter nonsense. Yeah. But I do have a couple quick questions for you. One, okay, so Philip Sheridan was, of course, a Union general, but I don't think that has anything to do with the name of your church. So I love the Sheridan Church. Can you tell us about the name? Is that just where it's at, or what's up with Sheridan?
So we are in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Sheridan. So, and this church is around 75 years and had 4 pastors. I'm the 4th pastor, but it's I believe the street Sheridan throughout our country was named after General Sheridan. That's my understanding. You guys probably know more than I do. I just remember some people saying I needed this was during the 2020 BLM nonsense. You got to change the name of your church because General Sheridan, I don't know what he did. He was something, and they were all up in arms that we had to change. And I just said, no, we're keeping the name. And so, yeah, you guys probably know more than I do about General Sheridan.
General Philip Sheridan was a Union cavalry officer, and then he did fight Native Americans after that. Maybe that's what the left is upset about.
Right.
But he had a very good track record in the Civil War from Ohio, along with General Grant and several others. So General Sherman's also from Ohio. Of course, he's pretty infamous in the South, but we won't get into that. The other question I have for you is you have a book. And your book is called Chasing After the Wind. And if I understand what the book is, well, there it is right there. If I saw some of the shelf back there. If I understand what the book is about, you're talking about the pursuit of people of happiness, which a lot of people pursue endlessly. And, without having read your book, just a quick thought on it and see if it dovetails with your book or not, or if I'm just out in left field. People will do anything for happiness, and they'll destroy the relationships for happiness. They'll get addicted to gambling for happiness. They'll spend all their money for what they believe is happiness. People get addicted to alcohol and drugs in pursuit of happiness. And happiness is, I don't want to say it's easier to find, but it's not as difficult as all those pursuits. Does any of that fit in your book in any way?
you're spot on, because all of us, we have unhappy hearts and we want to be happy. And so we'll do sometimes extreme things, drugs, porn, alcohol, whatever we think promises us money, power, a family, happiness. And we kind of live by this mentality. It's called chasing after the wind, because King Solomon in his old age wrote a book called Ecclesiastes in the Bible. And he looks back on his life. He was the wisest man to live, the wealthiest man at that time, had great building projects, had a ton of women, had a lot of success. He looked back on his life and he said, I was chasing the wind. And he never caught it. He never got happy, even though he had all the things that were supposed to make him happy. We're always chasing the wind. If I just had this, then I would be happy. It's like, if I just had kids, then I would be happy. Then you have kids and they're your praise report, but then they become your prayer request. You say, oh, if I just had a spouse, then I'd be happy. And you get married and you realize marriage comes along with something that I like to call intense fellowship. We always have this idea. If I just had this, then I'd be happy. We're always chasing the wind. And I think Coach Lou Holtz put it best. He said, if you want to be happy for an hour, go eat a steak. If you want to be happy for a day, play around the golf. You want to be happy for a week, go on a cruise. But if you want to be happy for a lifetime, you got to get to know Jesus. And so that's what this book is all about, how to catch the wind. Darryl Strawberry, I'm sure you guys are aware of the great baseball player. He wrote the foreword because his life is literally the embodiment of the book. Darryl was famous, successful, rich, women, jewelry, yet he was miserable that entire time. And that unhappy heart caused Darryl Strawberry to get on drugs, wind up in prison, $3 million in debt, no driver's license, totally miserable. And yet, then he met Jesus, and his life has turned around. And Darryl Strawberry today is one of the most joyful individuals you'll ever meet. So the book is How to Catch the Wind Instead of Always Chasing It.
Well, it's a great title. Folks, you're listening to the Common Sense Conservatives on WSMN, 1590 on your AM dial, 95.3 on your FM dial. Every Wednesday night, join us right here, or join us, as Todd likes to say, on the internets, on the interwebs, I think he likes to say, on the interwebs. You'll join Todd McKinley from East Tennessee, John Grover in the studio in Nashua, New Hampshire, and myself, Colonel Chris Wyatt, in Central Pennsylvania. And I just did Todd a disservice. Senior NCO, Sergeant First Class retired Todd McKinley. Our guest tonight is not other than Pastor Jackson Lahmeyer from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I've got to say, Todd, it's probably a good thing that I'm not in Tulsa. I have a feeling I know where I'd be spending my Sundays with this guy, because he's kind of got the hook here. I feel like I'm being pulled towards the Sheridan Church there.
Right.
He's got the right approach. But Todd, let me turn it over to you to ask some questions of
absolutely
Pastor Jackson Lahmeyer.
Well, I asked the biggest political questions going on social media, on the internet, whatever. And I see you got Kobe up back there. Who's the GOAT? Is it MJ, LeBron, or is it Kobe? Well,
My kids are not as sharp as I'd like them to be. They are convinced that LeBron James is the GOAT. And, I don't know. I don't know
MJ.
I need to get a DNA test. I'm not entirely sure if these are my kids.
Yeah, you better get that. I was up at the at inauguration this past January, and there was a kid that was with the group, and I asked him, he had he had LeBron on. I was like, well, what about, Larry Bird? What about this? And they're like, oh, he's too slow. He's too this or that. And I'm like, yeah, that they won on the court, and they did it with sheer talent, and they didn't fall down every 5 seconds.
I know, it's the worst. So now I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan. Love Michael Jordan. I give Jordan the props as the GOAT, but I can't put LeBron in that category, guys. I just can't do it.
Yeah, no, Jordan could have scored 90 points a night if he wanted.
Yeah.
When he stopped doing that, when he stopped doing
that,
they started winning. But when he was being an individualist, they weren't winning. He was getting 45, 50 points a night. When he became a team player and he matured, you couldn't stop the Bulls. They were undefeated.
So I'll ask you, so when you got the call to be part of the White House, the faith-based initiative, or the faith office, where were you? What were you doing, and what went through your mind? How did you get this call? What the heck's going on? Is it a prank?
Well,
what went through the mind?
So it was kind of phases to this. Leading pastors for Trump during the campaign was kind of like step one. Built a very close relationship with Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump.
He's a good guy. Yeah, Don and Eric are really good guys. I've worked with them doing advanced work.
And so we just stormed the swing states, and we would gather hundreds of pastors, and then we'd do larger rallies. And so I think with Don and Eric, I did the 24 stops, and just, so that was, my job essentially was to mobilize evangelicals. That was just part of the, how do you get Christians out to vote? Our thought process was, well, get their pastors, because Christians listen to their pastors, and a pastor can have a congregation of 70 people, 700 people, 7,000 people. So you reach that one pastor, you can reach multitudes of Christians who, if they vote, evangelicals are going to break towards Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
They're going to break towards Trump. And so we did a good job on that. And so from there, when the campaign was finished, I joined what is now the National Faith Advisory Board. And so this is what helped give birth to the White House Faith Office. And so this is led by Pastor Paula White, who has been with the president since the year 2000. She's the one that came to the Lord and has been, very close to him, served in his first administration. And so the National Faith Advisory Board. And so now Pastor Paula is the senior official advisor to the president representing the faith office. And so what that just means is, we come up and we hold events, National Day of Prayer at the White House, or Easter dinner at the White House. And then obviously forming policy to protect religious liberty. But the main thrust right now of what the White House Faith Office is doing is trying to expose the attack on religious liberty from the IRS, DOJ, FBI. And then I'll tell you one other thing that National Faith Advisory Board side that we're working on is going after the Johnson Amendment. President Trump wants to tackle the Johnson Amendment. Now, he can sign executive orders, but those executive orders can also be undone. Maybe not next time with an auto pen. I don't think they'll get away with an auto pen. It can be undone with the executive pen. So you need votes in the Senate to get rid of the Johnson Amendment. And we have an opportunity. We don't have the votes right now, but we have an opportunity, especially with the midterms coming up, that we can make this issue a primary issue. And if we get rid of the Johnson Amendment, that threat now against pastors and ministries from engaging is gone.
Right.
A very good chance to change the course of the history and the destiny of this country.
Can you touch on real quick what the Johnson Amendment is? Maybe the quick synopsis so everybody knows.
The Johnson Amendment, Lyndon Johnson was running for office in Texas. There was a preacher out of Houston who didn't like him and would preach sermons against him. Johnson created what is called the Johnson Amendment, which is basically nonprofits, 501c3, cannot engage in political activity, whether that's endorsing a candidate or making a donation to a candidate. The Johnson Amendment is not used. Nobody's been used with it. It is just a scare tactic of the IRS to try to shut up pastors from getting political.
And where are we right now with regards to votes on the Hill? Are we to a point where we can start counting votes, or are we just in the preliminary stage?
We're about 6 to 7, I believe, shy, and so which is still a ton, but we can start moving the needle, especially with midterms on the horizon.
Right. Yeah. Get some people in there that would support that, push it to the wayside, and it'll be done. And nobody would ever probably touch that again in the next 30, 40 years, probably.
I can't imagine. It would be such a hurdle to get it back over the hurdle,
right. Which is a good thing. And of course, hopefully future administrations will continue some office like this. I know during the Bush administration, 43, he had the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives. I worked with some of those guys and got to know some of them, but it kind of went away during the Obama administration. Of course, during the previous administration, we'll just call it that, the usurper in chief, Biden, he got rid of it for sure. He had nothing to do with it. I'm glad to see that Trump's bringing it back.
Yes.
So whenever you guys go in and advise the president, I mean, what run us through a typical meeting, if you can. I don't want to get into classified stuff behind the scenes, but whatever you can run us through, let the public know. Just give us a glimpse into the Oval Office on those days.
Well, I can tell one story. I'll tell two stories.
Okay.
It's the day to sign the executive order to establish the White House Faith Office. So there was probably, I'm going to say 10 to 12 of us pastors that were going into the Oval. Just, it's a celebratory day. He's going to sign it, and then it's just kind of celebrate. And so, we go into the Oval, and, there he is. He's sitting at the chair, and then we're all behind him. And so he signs the order, and then it's kind of like, okay, it's done. And you can kind of see like his aides are ready to kind of usher us out, because what had happened prior to that, the Prime Minister of Japan was in. Their meeting went like 2 hours over. And so our executive order got signed 2 hours later. but he was already supposed to be headed towards Palm Beach. And so he was not even supposed to be in the Oval whenever we were in there, but he was like, I'm not skipping this. We got to do this.
Right.
And so he does it. And we all know, he's short on time, right? Like we understand. Yet you can see his aides are like, they're going to start ushering us out. And here is the president. He's like, no, I want you guys to stay. Let me show you. And so he keeps us in the Oval for like another hour. And
Nice.
you can just see the aides and all that. They're like, oh my gosh, we got to get this moving. He's talking to us. He put up these gold angels above the doors. And he's like, you guys know why I did this, right? You know why these gold, because an angel helped save my life. He's got these gold angels in the Oval.
Right.
Then he's showing us the different paintings and all the things like that. And then he's asking us questions. He's saying, hey, let me know if the IRS ever comes after you. I mean, he's asking us questions about what we think about X, Y, or Z. And so that was one setting. That was celebratory. But he took that extra time when he did not have to spend with us. And it was really exciting. So then we go up and it's time for Easter. And we have a dinner with the president in the White House, which was wonderful. And now it's time for everybody to go home. But he's like, hey, if some of you guys want to stay around, I'll take you up to the residency and I'll show you around. And so, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely.
Yeah, why not?
Like, I'm not taking this. May not get another opportunity. So this is where it got brought up.
Very rare to get invited up to the residence, for sure.
Yeah, it was incredible. So we go up and we come to a picture of Lyndon Johnson. And so POTUS says, this guy right here, he really hated you pastors. And POTUS goes, we've got to get rid of this, but right now we don't have the support. You guys are going to have to get after it. And so that's what kind of brought up, like, okay, we need to focus on so this is kind of how he operates a little bit. It's, hey, we see something like a portrait of Lyndon Johnson. Then it leads us into, hey, we need to mobilize and we need to get aggressive about this. So that's it's just sporadic like that. And it's very just kind of, he does what he likes to do. And you can appreciate this. He had given this presidential challenge coin. I don't know if you can see it.
That's you got the big one. Yeah.
It's a hefty sucker.
Wow.
And so he's just, it's been great. It's been really, really great.
Good deal. Yeah, I love it. And so, those are some things that you guys need to focus on instead of just having a bunch of pastors that could come pray every now and then for a show. Actually do some real work. And I'm glad that you guys are taking that initiative and actually, taking the mandate that he gave you there on that tour, basically.
Yeah, his mandate was pretty simple. He goes, you guys can help. He goes, right now we don't have the votes, but if you guys get after it, you can make this happen, because he understands the reach that evangelicals have. We're the largest vote bloc in America. And so it's on us, not on him. It's on us to get this done.
There we go. I'll turn it over to John. I know John's probably aching to get in here real quick in his new angle there. We're watching
new angle. we did have a couple of questions in the comments. One of which was, how does the pastor feel about Afrikaners not getting placement as quickly as they should? And also, I'm wondering if, in regard to that, in this council, when you have prayer, do you have prayer for these sorts of things for people who are struggling in foreign countries and stuff that are dealing with oppression and bias and things like that, and they're really struggling?
Well, the thing is, we as a White House faith office is identifying, like, do you remember the genocide that was happening with Christians in the Middle East just a couple months ago? I mean, I know it's no longer in the news cycle, but it was a literal genocide. Well, so the White House faith office responds to that. So it's much more than just, Americans. It's looking at faith specifically in the United States, but also what is happening around the globe. And then Syria is the prime example I can give, just because it was a Christian genocide. I mean, what was happening over there was terrible. And so, those issues get prayed over. Those issues get brought up. Obviously, the primary focus is the United States and citizens of the United States. It's the White House faith office. But anytime there's a tragedy like that across, the globe, it's going to be something that we pray for.
Yeah, it's a common thing churches would do, as well. They see things going on, disasters and such, and that's what Christians do. They pray for other folks. Another question in here was, let's see, does this pastor also advocate for the rights of Muslims, Baha'i, Orthodox Christians, and Latter-day Saints, or is he only concerned with conservative evangelical Christians?
It's a great question. No, religious liberty means religious liberty, that you have the choice in this country. You can choose whatever faith you want, and I'm going to defend your right to have that decision. That's what religious liberty is. Now, I am a evangelical, Pentecostal, charismatic, conservative Christian. All right. Now you guys can judge me because I went through all the titles of what I am. But that's my right. That's my right.
Exactly.
Those, whatever you want to call them, demographics about who I am. But it's also the right of the individual to choose to be a Muslim or Orthodox or whatever it is. Religious liberty is religious liberty in this country.
How closely do you work with some of the other religions within the faith-based office?
Well, okay, so you have to realize something. Obviously, America is a majority evangelical Christian and then Catholic nation. That's the majority of who our people are. So it's going to have representation as a majority. But like the National Day of Prayer, we had so many Jewish rabbis up there. We were in the Rose Garden, right? There's so many Jewish rabbis up there. You had several Muslim imams up there. So it was an interfaith event because, once again, we recognize Jackson Lahmeyer is a Christian in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and my church is specifically a Christian church. But our country is not just Jackson Lahmeyers. Our country is made up of many, many different people. And so you have to have interfaith and give them a voice. And I know there's some people who are against that, and I understand it. However, this is a government-sanctioned event to represent people in the United States of America, like the National Day of Prayer. And so, you had different faiths there.
So on this faith council, do you have more than just Christians on this council then? You have other members of different faiths?
Yeah, so the president just created the anti-Christian task force. And on there, you've got Catholic priests, there's a whole list of them. I'm not on that task force. There's a list of them. There's Jewish rabbis, Muslim imams. And so it's very diverse.
Awesome. So now, you were leading the council in the investigation to the Department of Justice and the IRS bias against Christians these last few years, to my understanding. Could you elaborate on that some?
Well, I haven't been leading the last few years. No.
No. I mean, the bias of the last few years.
Okay.
Actually, I think Chris alluded to it earlier. It's been about 4 decades, but there was like an investigation based on this. And you said something about earlier with the FBI, Department of Justice and such.
There is right now a season where cases are being compiled of injustices of the FBI, DOJ, IRS that have over the years specifically targeted Christians. And so little by little, those cases are being made public. Like I said, a lot of this info is on the White House official website. And there will be more and more cases because, we've been out. Hey, do you know anybody who's had this experience? And oh my goodness, I have been flooded. I mean, just today had a pastor in Oklahoma that was raided by the ATF during Biden's last year. And so you get these stories and then you compile them. You have to vet them and all those type of things. And then we submit them forward for the process of, is this something that can be fixed, adjudicated, whatever the case may be. Lawfare. Lawfare is a major thing right now against conservative Christians. It's absolutely terrible what's happening in our judicial system. So this anti-Christian bias task force is huge. It's huge, guys.
Wow. So basically when Joe Biden was talking about 80,000 new agents for the IRS, was he specifically thinking about targeting Christians?
Well, I can tell you a big portion of that was targeting not just Christians specifically, but non-profit 501c3s that would be Christian in nature. I mean, you got to realize, like Grand Canyon University gets the largest fine ever. Well, that's Trump undid the fine. That was a Christian university. Liberty University, same exact thing. But then you get Harvard, right? We don't fine Harvard. We give them billions of dollars. It's the most upside down thing you've ever seen. You got Christian universities that receive fines, and then you have a university like Harvard that is now all that stuff's coming out. They don't get fined, they get rewarded. That's how backwards things have been in this country.
Well, that is That works on the level of reflexive law, does it not? The concept of we're going to reward you for doing what it is we want you to do. So when we have an agenda, say to push for transgender rights, so we're going to reward you and give you more money for your cause over here. But you who oppose it, we'll just send the IRS over to do an audit.
Yep. That's essentially, if you could summarize it, that is what has happened in our country. And the good news is the president knows this and he wants to fix it and is going to.
Awesome.
Good deal. That's a good thing. So how much longer do you think you're going to be associated with this, through the entirety of the administration, another year, 2 years, whatever, or just until you're tired or the president says thank you very much?
Well, I'm on the National Faith Advisory Board, and that is something that also goes outside and is engaged in other things, other elections throughout the country. Okay. But then on this, it's just when I'm along for the ride as long as they'll have me on the boat. I'm just glad to be a fly on the wall. So that's
there you go. Yeah, that's a good mentality to have. That way you're in there, you're learning. Yeah, sucking up all the information. I love that. That's the way to be.
Yeah. So I'm grateful. Whenever I get asked to come up to the White House, I say I'll be there, and then I do whatever I'm asked to do.
Before we turn it back to the Colonel, real quick, where can people find your book? I know we haven't asked that question yet.
They could find it on Amazon, or they can go to my website, jacksonlahmeyer.com, jacksonlahmeyer.com, and then get a special edition that is signed by me through my website. So that is where they can get Chasing After the Wind.
Perfect. I'm going to have to watch the show Longmire now after this, by the way, just so you know. It's in my head again. Go ahead, Colonel.
No, Longmire rocks, man. That's the only reason I signed up for that leftist Netflix channel, is for Longmire. I said, as long as they had Longmire, I'd have a subscription, but they're removing it now after several years. So guess where I'm going? No longer to Netflix, but they saved it from A&E. So okay. So let's get down to brass tacks. How does a independent journalist slip into this faith group to go in and meet the president in the Oval Office? That's what I want to know. I mean, I got a top secret clearance, so I can get in the building.
You also join my church. We'll ordain you into the ministry, and then we'll have you be a part of the national faith agenda there. The move.
That sounds like a lot of work. I was looking for
a math solution test by chance.
There's no.
I'm thinking this guy knows marketing. He's going to grow his congregation.
Right. I love it.
I told you he was drawing me towards his church in Tulsa, man. But seriously, how do I see Trump? No, anyway, but so let me ask you this question. You mentioned earlier that you fathered a child at 17. And you had a bit of a, maybe my words, maybe not yours, not the most responsible start in life as a young man. What turned it around for you? Was it being born again, or was it you finding your faith, or was it did somebody scold you? I mean, what got you on the correct track?
Well, in high school, I was a really good athlete. I was going to be playing college basketball. So it was the end of my junior year when I found out, hey, I'm going to be a dad. And then my life, just felt like it came crumbling down. All of my friends said, dude, your life is over. And I had a teacher in high school that directed a teaching in a science class about how teen pregnancy and all the stats and all the numbers. And everyone knew she was talking to me because I was the only kid in the classroom that was going to be a teen dad. And so, not only did my friends say my life was over, now I got a teacher giving me statistics guaranteeing that my life is over. And so I was like a hopeless kid, and I started watching TV one night, and a preacher came on. These preachers will draw you in. A preacher came on the screen, and he was in Tulsa. I lived outside of Tulsa. And so I started driving on Sunday nights, 40 minutes to go to church, to a Sunday night service. And it was through that I gave my life to Christ, and I came to the realization my life was not over. My life had actually just begun, and that God was going to use this circumstance to help direct me into my purpose. And so from there, I went to Oral Roberts University. It's going to be a business major. Instead, God called me into the ministry, and then kind of the rest is history. Today, I got 5 kids, pastor a great church, and I get to hang out at the White House every once in a while. So even a 17-year-old kid who messed it up can still be redeemed and used by God.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing about your situation is, Tom, when your kids are all grown, you're still going to be young enough to enjoy your life when they're out of the house.
I get to enjoy the grandkid phase, right? That's because
you're going to be young enough to keep up with them.
It's incredible. So I don't feel like I'm that young. When you have a kid at 17, you grow up quick.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
true.
speaking of life, I do believe we saw a message earlier saying that John Grosvenor is a grandfather. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Third time now.
Congratulations.
Yep. My baby granddaughter was born today, earlier this
Congratulations.
morning.
Congrats.
So,
Yeah, that's a good. And
yeah,
that's whenever
so-
we were talking about abortion, by the way. And that
Yeah,
popped
that's
in. That was
I didn't get a chance to.
appropriate. That was
Yeah, I was
appropriate.
going to bring it in there, but I didn't get a chance to. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's that's pretty incredible how you found your purpose in life, and you went on from there. Of course, Oral Roberts, that's synonymous with Tulsa, isn't it? That's where you think of. Yeah, so I mean that one pretty much jumps out if you know anything about evangelicals.
Yep.
So let me ask you this question: what was the biggest challenge you've ever faced? Is there anything that gave you a crisis of faith?
Oh yeah, you're going through seasons in life, and this is how I kind of describe life. You're in two phases. You're either coming out of a storm, or you're going into a storm. That's just kind of if you live long enough, you'll say, "Yep, I'm coming out or I'm going in." And so, I would say for me, the biggest challenge that I have ever faced personally was whenever I got a call from General Mike Flynn. I was a pastor in Tulsa. I kept my church open during 2020. The mayor of Tulsa threatened to arrest me because we didn't shut down. And so I got in this media battle with the mayor of Tulsa. And I was blown away when I was told I would be arrested if we had church on Sunday. And this was Saturday. Biggest challenge was, do I go through with this? Because you got to remember how crazy it was at that early time.
I remember.
And my wife gave me advice. Well, you've already said you got to do it now, so you got to do it. And but it was an interesting thing because it was like, am I willing to be arrested for my faith? It was a challenge, and I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong or illegal or immoral or unethical. That we were just, the liquor store right next to us was open, and then the strip club down the street was open, and I was like, well, I'm going to keep the church open. And
you got to balance it out at least.
That was tough. That was tough. Yeah, we did have to balance it out. But we stayed open. That changed my life. That one decision where I kind of had a crisis. What do I do? What do I do? It changed my life, and it put me on the trajectory of a pastor being involved politically. I'd never been involved politically. But when the mayor of Tulsa crossed into my lane, that's when I decided, well, now I'm going to get involved in your lane, because I understood mayors and city council members and school board members and governors, they actually can impact my life. Didn't really know that until 2020. Yeah. And so that was probably the biggest challenge I ever faced.
Well, it was a huge moral challenge. I remember I went to the Reformation Society to speak in 2022 in Cape Town in South Africa. And I talked about doing what's right, moral, and just in the face of injustice, which is what you did. That was injustice. I remember very clearly. I remember in Alabama, a pastor held a service at a drive-in movie theater where the congregants were in their own cars with the windows up, and there was an extra space between each car. He wasn't even at the theater. He was broadcasting over the screen, and they threatened him with arrest. This is a clear violation of the First Amendment. There was no justification for this whatsoever. These are evil people, evil people. And I'm glad that you stood for what was right, moral, and just. I'm also happy that you weren't arrested. Although, as you know, a Lakers and Kobe Bryant supporter, you know, it wouldn't be unjustified. You know, I'm just saying.
I heard
Celtics.
I have heard a good solution to that dilemma. And
What's
talking to for constitutional sheriffs, talking to Sheriff Mack.
Right.
And somebody he was associated with, the pastor had the same problem. He says, listen, I don't answer to you. I don't answer to politics. I answer to God and God alone. So I'm keeping my church open during the spicy flu season here. And
spicy flu season.
I have to say it that way because we're on YouTube and it won't tolerate any proper use of the word.
Yeah, they don't tolerate anything that's
so
factual.
basically this constitutional sheriff had told me, he says, I'll fix your problem for you. I'm going to deputize you and all your congregation. That will give them the inability to make an arrest. Now, the deputization of these people were just for going to church. It wasn't so they can go out and police the streets or anything. But supposedly that's what he did, and nobody could arrest them. So they were having their church.
There we go.
Great solution. I loved it, man. This is the importance of networking, working together, getting involved in things such as, like, say, constitutional sheriffs and stuff like that, that understand the importance of freedom of religion.
But this was a very difficult time for people of faith, where our natural rights and our constitutional rights were violated. Look what they did to Pastor, was it Arthur Pawlowski in Alberta? It's horrific what they did to that man, and they did it because they were spiteful. Because having grown up in communist East Bloc in Poland, he knew what tyranny was. And when they marched into his church without a warrant during his services to harass him, he embarrassed them because someone shared that. And ever after that, they went after him. And they still won't leave the man alone. I think he should come to America and take asylum here. Just, come here as a refugee. It's sorry,
he's a good friend of mine. He's a good man.
Well, that's I'm glad that you have friends with him. Todd, I'm gonna have to link up with this guy so you can give me the White House and so I can interview that guy. I've been trying.
Right. Well, we need him on our show too.
Rebel News seems to keep him to himself. I can't get him.
Well, we need to have Jackson on a regular. I think that needs to happen.
Yeah,
he could do like a 15-minute commentary every show, right?
Yeah, just pop in every couple, maybe once a month, do 10, 15-minute little stand-up, whatever you got to do. It doesn't matter.
I'll be on. You just tell me when and where, we'll make it happen.
All right, we were going to do that.
No, guys, I think you forgot to mention that we don't pay our guests and we don't tithe the churches for the program. So I don't know if that has any impact on his appearance or not.
I was just assuming the gentleman was doing pastor work
churches, so sorry.
And we'll let him tend to his flock. But all right, so we're coming up at the top of the hour, Pastor Jackson Lahmeyer, and I want to thank you so much for coming on. I've enjoyed the hour. I get the impression Todd and John also have, and I think that the viewers and listeners have had a chance to hear some really remarkable things. I'd like to turn it over to the guests for the last couple of minutes before we start hearing the gong run us out. But if you'd like to say some words, I don't know if words of encouragement or something you want to share with folks, because we've all gone through dark times the past 5 years.
Or a prayer that you like to go to. That'd be all right too.
If you want to do that as well. But the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I would just say first, thanks for having me on. Real honor, and love what you guys are doing. And then secondly, right now is a time to experience some real joy because we have gone through an incredibly dark season that a lot of us, you're in the midst of it and you're fighting and you're not really sure, are we going to win? Are we going to lose? And now we're in the process. We're seeing things happen geopolitically, but let me just say spiritually real quickly. In America, we are seeing young men come to church in record numbers. It is absolutely amazing what we're witnessing. Record high Bible sales. People are going, and so many people are using the Bible on their phones, but now people are going back to old school. They're going to buy physical Bibles. It's just, and these are the amazing. You break the stats down. These are first-time Bible buyers. These are not people that they have an entire library of different Bibles. These are people who didn't own a Bible. Then they're going and buying a Bible. So what we're seeing is this spiritual renewal in America. Alongside this renewal of patriotism in America, it's really as if America's becoming godly and great again. And so it's something I'm excited about, but we have to keep our foot to the gas. We have to keep going strong. We have midterms that are coming up that are going to be very, very important. So we got to keep praying for our country, praying for our leaders. And then let me be selfish with my final words. Be sure to go out and buy the book, Chasing After the Wind. I got 5 kids. I got 5 kids. I got to feed these kids. I need help. Chasing After the Wind. I guess Todd and Chris aren't going to be tithers to my church, so I need their audience to at least go buy the book.
That's right. Yeah.
And JacksonLahmeyer.com. Lahmeyer's Lahmeyer.
All right, I'll buy a copy. You've
we'll get a copy. Don't worry.
Oh my goodness, Pastor Jackson Lahmeyer. It's honestly, it's a real pleasure to have you on tonight. Thanks a lot for joining us, and God bless you, and to all that you interact with as we move forward. On November 5th, we saved America, and we may have just saved the world.
Amen.
Hey.
All right, there you go. So we're going to be here for a couple more seconds, I think. Where's that music at, John?
It's right
there. There it is. There it is. All right. We'll be back in the next hour, folks, and we'll talk about all the happenings in politics. And we want to thank our guests. God bless, and we'll see you in the next hour after the news.
WSMN 1590. WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. President Trump's big budget bill in jeopardy. Billionaire and former DOJ leader Elon Musk on X posting, quote, "We need a new bill that doesn't grow the deficit." House Speaker Mike Johnson.
We worked on the bill for almost 14 months. You can't go back to the drawing board, and we shouldn't. We have a great product to deliver here.
The father suspected of killing his 3 school-aged daughters near a Washington state campground is on the run. The public has been warned that 32-year-old Travis Decker could be armed and has military training. A federal judge blocking the deportation of the Boulder, Colorado firebombing suspect's family this afternoon, scheduling a hearing for later this month to hear the case. They told investigators no one knew that Mohammed Suleiman was going to carry out that attack at a demonstration to free Israeli hostages in Gaza. On a phone call today, President Trump says Vladimir Putin told him he will, quote, have to respond to Ukraine's major drone attack that damaged dozens of Russian military aircraft. This is ABC News. Louisiana police still on the hunt for 2 missing inmates raiding an apartment where one of the men reportedly posted on Instagram days ago as the search continues.
In a blue sweatsuit, the man claiming to be Antoine Massey acknowledges that he's likely to be recaptured.
When I get back in custody, I'm asking y'all please to come help.
When, not if, he's back in custody. Police who raided an apartment not far from the Orleans Parish Prison found a sweatsuit, but not Antoine Massey. He and Derek Groves are the final 2 of 10 inmates who escaped from that jail last month. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
2 people were killed in a crane collapse at a construction site on Merritt Island, Florida. OSHA investigators are on the scene. Ford Motors issuing a new recall for 500,000 Explorer models made between 2015 and 2017 due to a door trim that could detach while driving and cause a dangerous road hazard. The car company says lack of proper adhesion caused the trim to loosen with time, adding it's unaware of any accidents or injuries related to the defect. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-746-3737. 800-746-3737. 800-746-3737.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gatecitymonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7141. That's 603-883-7141. Gate City Monument. Memorials of distinction for people who care.
The views in
Gate City Monuments, guys, we're back. Yeah, Gate City Monuments, monuments of distinction there. Always loving that. That's fantastic. It took a moment for the camera to get back there. I wasn't sure we were back on air.
That was your operator not paying attention.
That's quite all right. Welcome back, folks. What a fascinating guest in that first hour.
You guys, big time.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get started with the nonsense from today and from this week. We'll start with Doge and Elon Musk and what the evil Republicans are saying about him. Here's some of the comments that are reported about him. A quote from a Republican legislator who's a coward who won't speak with his name being attached to it. He's a complete joke. He had no effing idea he was doing whatsoever. said one House Republican speaking condition anonymity. Lawmaker added, nobody really wanted him here. We couldn't wait to get rid of him. The second lawmaker pointed out that electric vehicle manufacturers like Tesla benefit from tax credits the bill is going to eliminate. Some of the things he's advocating for now serve his own purpose. So I guess he's now lobbying. I'm sorry. He's lobbying to eliminate tax credits for electric vehicles. So how does that benefit his firm? Because people won't get tax credits for buying his electric vehicles. It actually harms his business. This is how stupid these members of the legislature are. These Republicans are just as bad and evil as the Democrats. Unfortunately, It's far too many of them. They don't care. People can't wait to get rid of them. What is your problem? Why do you not want to cut fraud, waste, and abuse? You're cowards. Your morality is weak. We need the pastor back. Let's get Jackson back in here. Talk about the immorality of these congressmen.
Right.
Come on, Todd. What do you think?
No, you think about it, and they run for office for election or re-election, whatever. They talk about cut, spend, fraud, waste, and abuse. They talk about how great of a Christian they are, all this stuff. Then they get there, then they're anything but a good Christian. They're anything but moral. And of course, they love to tax and spend all day long because guess what? That's more money back in their own districts that they can say, hey, I clawed back your taxpayer dollars to help you right here in your home area. Why don't we just cut some of the taxes and stop sending it to Washington, D.C. to start with, so you don't have to save all that money for us and bring it back to our districts that was ours in the first place?
Well, I think it's absolute nonsense. These cowards in Congress. I mean, they're not there for us. And you notice something else here. Now we see J.P. Morgan's Jamie Dimon, whom I used to respect at one time. We see Moody's downgrading U.S. debt. They didn't do this when Obama was president. They didn't do, and he doubled the national debt. They didn't do this when Joe Biden set record debt levels and buried us in $34 trillion worth of debt. And yes, I know that Trump also piled debt on in the first term too, but not nearly as much as these clowns. So why is it suddenly now that we get a downgrading of our credit, and we're also getting this nonsense from J.P. Morgan and Jamie Dimon talking about, how the country is unstable and we're going to fall apart because of the debt crisis? You clowns ignored the debt crisis for 45 years while we sounded the clarion call year after year about this. We were paying $200 billion in the debt, annual payments, just 5 years ago. Now we're paying over $1 trillion a year to service the debt. It's unsustainable. Isn't it obvious that it's so political, Todd, that this is what's going on here?
Absolutely, it's political. And I don't understand. You brought this guy in, Doge. You got President Trump elected, pushing Doge. We didn't know what it was going to look like exactly. Members of Congress got on his coattails to get elected or reelected. Oh, we're going to cut spending. We're going to get behind Doge. And now all of a sudden you have it. You're not going to do anything with it because you're cowards. I don't understand that. You got elected to do something. Why aren't we doing that thing that you got elected to do? Cut spending, cut out fraud, waste, and abuse, get your job done and go home, or move out and let someone else do it.
Well, it's because they want to get reelected and they think that pork will get them reelected instead of doing what's right for this country. Again, I refer to Davy Crockett. There's my example. There is a patriot who really didn't want to run for Congress. He was convinced to run by his constituents. He ran. He went to D.C. He did as much as he could to clean the place up and improve it, and he came home.
Yeah.
And sadly, he later went to Texas, and we know how that ended. But
Right.
the point is that he didn't make a 40-year career out of being a congressman. He went and served the people, and then came home.
But he played victim to Jackson as well, the Jacksonians and all that as well. They had a big hand in him getting ousted.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have spent his whole life there. He would have gone back.
Of course
I
not.
mean, he was a frontiersman.
3 terms and out, he would have been done, and he'd be back to the frontier.
Yeah, a frontiersman. He just chafed, at the suits and the ties and being in the building. I get that. I mean, kind of like John Fetterman. He chafes at wearing clothing too in the Senate.
A completely different reason, my friend.
But so true. The guy just can't be bothered to wear clothes. It's so pathetic. Oh my goodness. When Musk went there with Doge, he talked about cutting $2 trillion out of the budget. And I said, he's dreaming. There's no way it's ever going to happen. Number one, there isn't $2 trillion to cut out because only 18% of the federal budget is actually discretionary, and that's all they can cut unless the laws are changed, and then these so-called entitlements for Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security can be reduced. But they can't cut that. If you're not cutting those three, that's the Leviathan right there. It's 82% of the budget. You only have 18%. And if the budget's $7 trillion, you can only take 18%. So that's 180 billion times 7. So that's a little over 2 billion. So you basically have to gut the entire federal government and not be able to operate at all. Remove the military, customs, Federal Aviation Administration, Border Patrol. Nobody would be doing anything. It wouldn't just be cutting NPR and Robert Mapplethorpe abominations. There'd be no federal government. because you can't run off $150 billion a year. So
Right.
it was a pipe dream to begin with. And in the end, they found about $200 billion they can cut. It's a drop in the bucket.
Right. And now the bill that they've sent up there, I've read different estimates, 8.5. I said somewhere up to 10 million or 10 billion, excuse me, as low as 7 billion. And members
Trillion.
of Congress and the Republican side are still balking at it.
You talking about cuts or billion cuts or
Just some general cuts in spending that Trump's proposing, just like 8.5 billion, like just
Okay.
very minimal stuff. And they're balking at that,
Well, I saw he wanted to cut $9.4 billion from USAID and National
That's it.
Public Radio.
That's
the
another
way.
one.
Yeah,
and they're balking at all this stuff.
It's because they're not real Republicans. They're not real patriots, and they get away with this. And people are suckers voting for them. Look, you and I both seen this running for local politics. I ran for the state legislature last year, and people pretend that they're conservatives, pretend they're people of faith, and it works. And they get elected, and they don't do anything.
Nope.
And then people complain about what's going on. Yeah, there's a good question. It was just mentioned in the chat. Whatever happened to the gold story? Whatever happened to the? We're going to go to Fort Knox and make sure the gold's there. Did we go and find out it wasn't there? We're not telling anybody.
Yeah,
keeping it a secret now.
Oops, they turned around like let's not televise this. Yeah, gold was there.
We need to get gold in here quick.
I think all the gold disappeared back with Sean Connery and Goldfinger in 1963.
Yeah.
It's been gone since 63.
They show up in one of those gold little shops that every town has. We buy gold. Hey, we're at Fort Knox today buying gold or what? I don't know. Yeah, this is the Fort Knox gold we're looking for right here, folks.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, seriously, what happened to that story? They made a big fanfare. I'm like, seriously? And we've not heard about what the status of the gold is. I don't know. Where's the gold, man? Where's the gold?
Why wouldn't Rand Paul show up there at the front doors and demand to be let in,
That's a good question. But Rand Paul is backing Elon Musk, talking about this bill being an abomination. That's his actual word. He says the big, beautiful bill is a disgusting abomination. Guys, John, any thoughts on that? Do you agree that it's a disgusting abomination?
Trump is referring to Mr. Paul as a loser because he's not backing the bill. And I have to disagree with the president regarding Rand Paul. Rand Paul has been very consistent. He's been very honest, and he's been on point. In fact, he was my first choice in 2016.
Yeah.
He's the only guy that could really go toe to toe with Donald Trump during the debates. So I think Rand Paul knows what he's talking about. And if he's saying something, you darn well better be listening. He does his research, he knows his information, and he's right on top of things.
Right. And it makes no sense that Trump would push back against it. Trump should be, yeah, you're right. It doesn't go far enough, but it's a start. And it's what we can get through right now. Push it through and get something else on the table. Try to push it through, at least show that you're making an initiative or an effort.
Yeah, guys, it's just, look, I mean, there's some things to like in the bill. No taxes on tips.
Yep.
No taxes on overtime, but there's still tax Social Security benefits, which I think is an abomination. You've already paid taxes on that.
Yeah.
So there are some things to like, but I mean, it increases the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. It increases the debt.
Mm-hmm.
And there's in my view, no legitimate effort to cut any government expenditure. So, what's the purpose of this big, beautiful bill?
As a side note, I think according to House Speaker Mike Johnson, Elon Musk took exception to the bill because he didn't get his expenditures for electronic vehicles in it. I don't know if that's entirely true or not, or if that's just something he's spewing.
Well, I don't need Elon Musk to tell me that I don't want the debt ceiling increased by $5 trillion. I don't need Elon Musk to tell me that the bill doesn't include no taxes on Social Security benefits. I don't need Elon Musk for any of this stuff. I can read that all on my own.
Absolutely.
And so I don't care whether Elon Musk gets tax credits or not. I think they should be eliminated. I don't like subsidizing. The purpose of government isn't to pick winners and losers. The purpose of government is to provide for our common defense. And that's it, and ensure a level playing field. And this government is out of control. I don't care who controls it. President Trump needs to get a handle on this, and they need to reduce this spending. Now, there are tax cuts, and that's great, and that will fuel the economy. And within 2 or 3 years, there'll be more record revenues coming into the federal government because the tax cuts put more money into the economy, which generate more jobs, more capital investment, more taxes are paid as a consequence. But it will be a bigger deficit in the short term.
Right. And President Trump really, if you think about it, has until maybe next spring to get all this done. Because at that point, everybody's running for re-election.
Yep. And they're either going to be running with or against Trump.
Or against him,
and
right.
The odds are strong that they're probably running against Trump.
Right. Because the coattails are going to dwindle between now and then. For just naturally that happens.
Yeah, and Trump is done. This is it. He doesn't get to be president again. So
Right.
he had the first 2 years, and really it's just the first 18 months to affect change. And that's
It's
why,
true.
as I said from the beginning, I'm convinced they had a big playbook. Day one, boom, 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 boom.
Oh, yeah.
Executive
Right.
order. This thing to make the left go waste their money on lawyers to challenge this, which we know will be overturned. This
I
thing to
loved it.
troll the media. And for 90 days, that seems to be the cookbook that they were playing. I don't know if they still have a cookbook, but the president doesn't have a lot of time. And that's
Right.
unfortunate. That's a shortcoming of our system. Maybe the president should serve for 6 years.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But there would always be some other thing that would come up, I'm sure.
Sure.
But
Just
think about
6-year
that.
terms.
Right. But one 6-year term, you're done. Maybe one 8-year term. I don't know.
I don't want to get stuck with a Biden for 8 years. Good
Okay,
Lord,
where do we
no.
want to end it? Yeah. 6 years, I think, would be all okay. 5 years, whatever. But yeah, if you think about this, though, those members of Congress that got reelected or elected on his coattails are going to have to choose. Does his coattails still exist, or am I going to have to cut ties? And at that point, you're going to have to call them out for what they really are, opportunists, and vote for somebody else.
Well, speaking of opportunist, Todd, I'm glad you brought that topic up.
Thank you.
America's favorite lesbian Haitian is back in the news. Karine Jean-Pierre is leaving the Democratic Party.
Yeah, who cares?
She's what?
Who
Leading the
cares? I
Democratic
saw that.
Party.
I love it. Who cares?
Is this turning into the biggest clown show or what?
This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah,
biggest clown car is being evacuated at this point. I think the Democrat Party is the biggest clown car.
I think John wanted to ask if I was reading from The Onion.
No, it's true though. I love it. That's a real story.
I think it was true because Todd's reaction, he knew where you were going. And
It's a real story.
But you're right. It did sound like it was coming out of The Onion or something, or the
She lied for
Babylon
the
Bee.
Democrat Party for nearly 4 years, three years or so, however long she was there. Come on, now you're not a Democrat.
And not even remotely convincing. I mean, she's not even a good actor,
No.
One former official recalled that Jean-Pierre had joked about becoming an independent even while she was working in the Biden White House. An off-key comment for someone ostensibly serving as a major messenger for the Democratic Party. Another former official said that Jean-Pierre had begun working during the Biden administration with a New York-based publicist and had copied that person on official emails. We might have a crime here. Before some of Jean-Pierre's White House colleagues intervened to stop it. Everyone thinks this is a grift. Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past. It's a money grab somewhere. Maybe she has to be an independent to get a job at the New York Times or CNN. I don't know.
That people have no soul.
That way they can say, "Oh, we hired an independent. She's not a partisan. She's independent." Yeah, right. Come on.
Oh man, I'll tell you, honestly, Karine Jean-Pierre, our favorite Haitian lesbian. I didn't even know we had Haitian lesbians. It was so nice for her to remind us of that. It's always the people that just, when you have to remind people about what your sexuality is all the time, you have to begin to wonder if people are a little insecure about who they are and their identity,
Yeah, you would have to be. That's something you have to talk about on a regular basis. I think there's something wrong with it. It'd be like somebody who goes to Applebee's every Friday and that's part of their identity. Oh, the Friday crowd at Applebee's, somehow that's their identity now. It's not your identity. It's something you do. Sorry.
It could be worse. Your identity could be Applebee's.
That would be awful if that's the case. I mean, come on now. Some good quesadillas back in my 20s I've had there, but that's about it.
I did have some really good salads there back in the day. It's been a while.
I love it. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Been a minute.
Yeah. So interesting article in the New York Slimes today. Guest op-ed piece. So they run here by Lee Korvarsky, who teaches at University of Texas, Austin. And he's complaining about President Trump's pardons. He said President Trump has been on a pardon spree that shows no signs of slowing. In recent weeks, he pardoned or granted clemency to 2 former Republican politicians convicted of tax evasion, a reality show couple convicted of fraud, that's the Chrisleys, whose daughter spoke at the Republican National Convention, another tax cheat whose mother raised millions of dollars for Trump, and a far-right constitutional sheriff who accepted bribes for deputy credentials. Yeah, and that doesn't, of course, include those who were rioting or walked into the Capitol building. And they say it's out of control. I'm sorry. Trump's actually signing the pardons in front of people. What's out of control?
Right.
There's no auto pen by Karine Jean-Pierre or Susan Rice, fraudulently giving pardons to people that Trump or that Biden never even heard of. I'm sorry. P. Diddy. Okay, I'll sign that.
No. And it's clear he wasn't in the room, wasn't privy to any of it. Now, after the fact, we're hearing that, he didn't know, and most of these people that were pardoned. He's like, who is that? Not sure. Never met him. Whenever they're asking some of the off the cuff questions, now that he's out in public post presidency, they're yelling out questions and he's yelling back, "Oh, I never heard of them. Don't know who they are. You pardon them. Come on, man. Shut your mouth if you didn't pardon them."
Is it just me, or is it every time that Joe Biden is caught on camera now, he's shouting? Is he going deaf too? He's just shouting. I'm like, oh man, I got to turn the volume down here.
Like they're so far away, and like you see another camera angle, and it's like the person's 10 feet away from him. There's no need to yell. There's no helicopter going on behind you. You're good.
I wonder if he still wants to, fight Donald Trump.
He wants to come back behind the woodshed.
Yeah, with whips and chain. What's his name? Corn Pop. Yeah, bad dude.
He was a bad dude.
Corn Pop.
Yeah.
Back in the swimming pool,
chains, I guess.
The little kids that come up and play with the blonde hairs on my leg. Oh my gosh. Oh my, this is a president of the United States saying this stuff.
Weird. Yeah. Weird.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Charles Van Onselen says that Biden has gone deaf. No, Biden is just gone.
Right.
Biden left the building in 2015. He hasn't been seen since.
We're not certain he's on the same planet anymore.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever on the same planet.
I don't dive into conspiracy theories, but I see all those pictures that people put up, of him at different points, and it's like you can see where he's probably had some stroke and some work done, where it's pulled his face up, some injections and stuff. And I wouldn't put it past his White House physician at this point to have done that, to have assisted with that.
Oh, didn't you hear that? According to the left, Donald Trump claimed that Joe Biden was assassinated 4 or 5 years ago, and the one you're seeing now is a robot.
I've heard that nonsense, but I think that
he's a robot.
If Will Smith does a remake or does another edition of Men in Black, you know how they do that. They're in the control room there with Rod Steiger, and he says, somebody said Elvis is dead. He goes, Elvis is alive. He's an Alpha Centauri. You didn't know he's an alien? It's like Joe Biden's alive. He's an alien. He's actually an Alpha Centauri.
He's on a spaceship with a Bigfoot and Elvis.
Oh my goodness. This is something else. They're also losing their minds over ICE agents. I love this. So 97% of asylum seekers in this country are frauds, and they lose their case. Yeah. And they have to leave, but many of them don't. So now the ICE agents are showing up at asylum hearings, and when they're not granted asylum, they're deportable. They're outside and they're putting them in cuffs, and they're losing their mind. It's so wrong for ICE agents to be in a courthouse. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
It's wrong for law enforcement agents to be in a courthouse. What planet are you on?
The law.
They have a warrant for your arrest as soon as you fall. As soon as you fail.
Yeah, but even if they don't have a warrant, it's a courthouse. They're law enforcement officials. Of course, they have a right to be in a courthouse.
So all these people want to claim about due process. These people have a right. A judge just recently ordered that all the people sent to El Salvador have a right to have their cases heard. It's like, wait a minute.
No, they don't.
These
They're not Americans.
Did not register for documentation. They did not go in to be documented immigrants. Therefore, they're illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants.
They have no rights.
Deported.
Right. No, they're trying to extend the Constitution, the protectionist Constitution, to criminal aliens who invade our country. If the Mexican army came marching across the border, we wouldn't give them the protections. We wouldn't say that they have a right to stay here. We would put them in prison camps, POW camps, and then we'd export them back there minus their weapons. It's just nonsense, utter nonsense. Right. I mean, this is so. The latest is that this Suleiman clown, this guy in Boulder, Colorado, Mohammed Sabri Suleiman, illegally in the country, overstayed his tourist visa, then fraudulently claimed asylum. His wife, the same thing. And they've been working illegally for 3 years. And this guy kills all these Jews. Well, kills one anyway, and attacks all these Jews with flamethrowers and Molotov cocktails at a run to raise awareness for the hostages in Gaza, screaming free Palestine. And they went to deport his wife and 5 children who are all here illegally. And a judge has stopped it. And an American intervened on their behalf. These people hate America. I think we shouldn't just deport the illegal aliens. We should deport all these people who are facilitating or try them for treason. Yeah. Facilitating their illegal occupation.
I agree with you. Absolutely. 100%. That makes sense to me. And all of a sudden, these illegals that are coming here, you're not going to have Jerry Nadler and judges trying to hide them or sneak them out the back door of the courtroom. It's not going to happen.
I love that judge got arrested.
Yep. And did you see, is it Jerry Nadler's office being raided as they were trying to hide some folks in there from ICE?
No, I didn't. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was just a couple of days ago. I don't have the story up right here, but
they had to handcuff one of the aides because she was trying to block the door and prevent them from getting in because she was interfering with law enforcement. They subdued her, they handcuffed her, but they did not arrest her. They let her go afterward.
What a shame. See, rules for thee, not for we. No, that's nonsense. She should be arrested and charged. No, so was the penguin there?
Who knows?
He had a fit.
He was hiding in his office probably.
I don't think he was there, but he had a fit.
They were in uniform too. They were in uniform full uniform, and once they identify themselves and what they're there for, you can't stand in their way at that point. Especially if you're in a government building, you got to stand to the side, not obstruct. Let them freely carry out their duties.
I'm Gary Dowdler. I do what I want. I do what I want.
You are disrespecting Burgess Meredith's memory. How dare you?
Actually, you're right. That is an insult to Burgess Meredith.
That is
quite
an insult to Burgess Meredith.
That is. But tell me he doesn't look like the Penguin.
He does.
Dude, oh my goodness, he looks like the Penguin.
But one of the worst, not Burgess Meredith version, but like a horrible comic book version. Like
he looks like a caricature of a penguin.
There you go. Thank you. Maybe.
And he's always looked like a character.
Danny
of a
DeVito's
penguin.
version. Danny DeVito's version, right?
What's the one?
88,
the Schwarzenegger Batman movie with Mr. Freeze.
Yeah. He played Mr. Freeze.
Oh my gosh. What a horrible movie.
Batman and Robin. That's when he was on. And he got top billing as a villain on the Batman and Robin movie. God,
so terrible.
And he was the highest. He was paid more than anybody else on the movie too, as the villain. I love it.
And the movie sucked.
It was horrible. God awful.
Oh my goodness! No, but they're not letting this Suleiman's family be deported, and this guy they say they're entitled to a hearing. They're not entitled to anything. Get out of the country. Get out of the country.
He's entitled to be tried, convicted, put to death, or whatever needs to happen to this guy. They can go on home. See you later.
So even the Guardian is losing its mind about what's going on in America. The British publication saying U.S. immigration officers are ordered to arrest more people even without warrants. Well, you don't need a warrant if somebody's overstayed their visa.
Right.
ICE officers told to get creative with arrest, including of undocumented people. I'm sorry. Why do we keep saying undocumented? They're criminal alien invaders. They're documented. They just ditched their documents at the Rio Grande. They're not undocumented. They're just liars. They're frauds. Senior U.S. immigration officials over the weekend instructed rank and file to turn the creative knob up to 11 when it comes to enforcement, including by interviewing and potentially arresting people they called collaterals, according to internal memos and emails sent, which now are in the possession of the Guardian because somebody's a treasonous and gave them to the media, which has no right to these things. Yeah, that's another thing. I want to root out these people. We're still waiting to find out who outed the decision about the Dobbs decision. They're covering that up. There's no way you can't figure it out. Only a handful of people knew, and one of them is guilty. They should be in prison for all the trouble they caused.
Yeah, some of this information that leaks out there is stuff that you could probably figure out who did it. I mean, a lot of it probably is done intentionally, and they protect the person who does it. But anything that's leaked, outside of Friday dumps to the media like the White House does. Me as somebody who's not in the media, if I worked in the government, I should not be dealing with the press at all. I shouldn't be giving them stuff, sending them emails, talking with them. Period. But you have people that love to think that they know better than the administration or whoever's in charge of them, that I don't like what they said. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like their policy. So I'm just going to unilaterally make this decision to put this out there, no matter what you're jeopardizing. Even though you may have a bureaucratic process to change certain things, people don't want to go through that process. They think that they're the judge and jury by being able to throw it out there to the media. And I despise people who do that. There's a process in place to blow the whistle. Don't go to the media.
Well, folks,
you undermine everything, I think.
While we've been sitting here holding our program, President Trump has signed another executive order, and he's banning travel from 12 countries. After reviewing the report described in subsection D of this section, and after accounting for the foreign policy, national security, and counterterrorism objectives of the United States, I've determined to fully restrict and limit the entry of nationals of the following 12 countries: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Long overdue.
But what was that second one you said there? Did you say
Burma? Burma.
It'll always be Myanmar to me, my friend.
I knew that's where you were going.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, when I think of Burma, I think of Burma shave.
Oh, yeah.
In addition, he's going to partially restrict nationals from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela.
All right. Wow. Good deal. Now, this is just tourists and any student, or what does this affect? Is it diplomats?
These restrictions distinguish between, but apply to both the entry of immigrants and non-immigrants. So nobody can come.
Wow. Nobody. So even people maybe going to the UN would be limited here, right? Or would have to go through a certain process, or
Yeah. Well, I don't know what happens there, but he explains what's going on in each country. Afghanistan, he gives the reasons. Specially designated global terrorist group controls Afghanistan. For Burma, he says, according to the overstay report, Burma had B1, B2 visa overstay rate of 27%, and the F, M, and J overstay rate of 42%. And they've not cooperated with the United States to remove their nationals. Then it goes on to Chad, and it's just wow. This is long overdue. But the left is going to lose their mind. And of course, what's the first thing that's going to come out of their mouth?
Oh, he's xenophobic. He's racist.
He's a racist.
All these things. Yeah.
He's a racist.
Well, what does Nancy Pelosi put out? What we got to check her Twitter feed.
Who cares? Is she still alive? I mean, she crawled out of her crypt?
Tweet something out.
She's waiting for the party to put something together for all of them to do individually.
Yeah, no, she's busy. She's like, I know what's going on with Nancy right now. It's like, Natalie, don't dim the lights. They have to paint my eyebrows on.
To paint them on. Yeah. Watch out for hammers.
Last time you dimmed the lights, Natalie, I got a crooked one that went all the way up my forehead.
I think you got some folks in your neck of the woods there, Chris, wanting to know if the RSA is on that list. I didn't hear you say it, so I don't think it is.
South Africa's not on the list. Another break for South Africa. Can you imagine? Wow. But they're going to lose their minds and they'll just start crying racist. This is from the White House website, by the way. Yeah. So I'm looking to see if any of the countries are full of white dudes. Well, Iranians are technically white and Libya is technically white. So yeah, I guess white dudes are banned too, but I guess they don't count them as white because it doesn't fit their narrative. Cuba's white. So mostly, and Venezuela. But anyway, so they're going to complain, the brown people and the black people are kept out. No, people whose countries don't cooperate with U.S. immigration authorities, and those who overstay their visas at astoundingly high rates, because they're not here to visit America. They're here to invade America.
Absolutely. And in countries who are hostile to their own people. I mean, who oppress them, beat them, kill them, whatever the case may be, make them wear stupid, ridiculous clothes to cover their entire body for whatever reason. Who knows? I mean, if you want to be religious, and this is the right show to talk about since we had the person we had on in the first hour. Yeah, if you want to be religious, whatever the case may be, if you want to wear a funny hat, if you want to wear like something over your face, by all means, you do that. But don't force other people. To me, that's not religion. You live your own religion. You don't force other people to live your religion. Anyway, that's my take.
Well, I think it's a fair point.
That's not a religion. I don't see that as a religion. That's a cult.
Oh, no,
why not push people into cold water showers and brainwash them, man? You know what I'm saying? That's a cult.
We can't brainwash people? I didn't know that.
Not allowed to. No.
So
subliminal messaging might be different.
Well, speaking of subliminal messaging, let's just be upfront about not be subliminal. It's that time. Natalie, please dim the lights. Here we go. The lights are dim. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to WSMN 95.3 and 1590 on your AM dial every Wednesday evening from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the interwebs, as Todd is fond of saying. You can catch Common Sense Conservatives with my co-host John Grosvenor in the studio in Nashua, New Hampshire, and Sergeant First Class retired Todd McKinley, a patriot in East Tennessee. A lovely place, by the way, if you happen to go through it, East Tennessee.
Absolutely.
And I'm Colonel Chris Wyatt in Central Pennsylvania. Another lovely place. Just don't pitch your FEMA tent in my yard because it ain't going to fly. Anyway, so now that we've got that out of the way, we can bring the lights back up. Here we go. All right.
I hear when they do what do they call that when they do the rotors and stuff? And
the rotors.
Darn it, listen. North Carolina, they were what's it called? Something washing. When they fanned the rotors of the helicopters on the tents down below, them tents were flying, bro.
So you tell me at the wash?
Yeah. Wash the rotor wash. Yes.
Yeah.
Them tents were flying. So them tents will fly, Chris, if you do it.
If you want to see tents fly, get a Chinook come in there.
Oh, baby, shoot. Yeah, you're done.
Ooh. Also, don't rush up and touch a Chinook because you'll get killed. Yeah. They're full of static electricity. When those things come down to lift stuff, they've got to ground it, man. That thing will arc. Oof. Man, it's really a lot of electricity.
And they're faster than the Blackhawks, even though they don't look like it. They're faster than Blackhawks, which is funny.
It's kind of interesting. They've got static electricity discharge on planes because of that reason. What you were talking about, as soon as you ground out, you'd be like a squirrel that miscalculated and ground himself out on a power line.
Well, if you miscalculate on a Chinook, you're going to ground. You're going to be a cinder left because, man, that's massive. One of the first things that we're taught in air assault school was don't approach a Chinook. Let the crew chief on the ground handle that because you're going to get zapped pretty hard. I mean, what
Follow his hand signals.
It's staying in the air by beating the atoms into submission, generating friction, which generates a current, which attaches itself to the metal frame of the aircraft. And when it goes to the ground, watch out.
I like watching them when it be in the desert, watching them from above and just seeing all that static electricity just spinning around like purple light. It's wild. It's very wild.
It is, especially if it's at nighttime. It's really cool to say.
So, supposedly Tesla had something called a static generator. I don't think this is exactly what he had in mind, but
talking about Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, Nikolai Tesla.
Okay.
Oh, the actual Tesla.
Okay. Yeah, the actual. I'm sorry, I forgot. You gotta clarify with the.
What was it? What was it? Cliff something in New Jersey he had. What was it? Ward Cliff or whatever. I can't remember the name of it, but he had an entire lab up there that he experimented on things there. And as soon as he died, like they just came in and took everything.
Oh yeah, they say that he had some insane things out there that nobody even heard of yet. You know, his technologies were phenomenal. I mean, we're still using his technologies today.
Yeah, well, a lot of it's being rediscovered because the big money back in the day wanted to shutter all his stuff because they couldn't make money off of it.
Oh yeah, talk about free energy and stuff, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's actually electricity in the ground. You can actually.
And Westinghouse and then all J.P. Morgan, all those people kind of screwed him over.
Oh yeah. Well, he wasn't real smart about money. He liked the
no. He didn't care about the fame or the patents or anything like that. He made all his patents for free. He just basically turned over everything. He got screwed over because he believed the other guy was it Morgan or somebody he signed all his patents over to.
Well, he used to work for Edison, and he got tired of
course,
Edison taking
Edison
all his
took everybody's patents.
He bolted and did his own thing, and he did very well. I mean, he lived a really nice life until the end.
Yeah.
So, John, I guess the question is, do you believe this cold fusion mumbo jumbo?
I'm not sure exactly what cold fusion mumbo jumbo is, Chris. Do you have an explanation?
No, it's a great line from the Saint.
Oh,
Val Kilmer, arguably one of his best movies.
Oh, Cold Fusion. No, we were telling somebody about fusion earlier, and I'm sorry, I confused it with something else. Yeah.
I remember back in the 90s, the early 90s or late 80s, when these scientists claimed that they had achieved cold fusion, and they just got eviscerated when their paper was peer reviewed. Yeah, but I remember that. But no, that was the Saint, Val Kilmer. We've lost him. He's passed on now. It's a shame.
Yeah.
I thought he's a very talented actor. What was the one where he was Thunderheart? That was his other great movie. I really enjoyed that, where he was out on a Native American reservation in
He was
Dakota.
an FBI agent, yeah.
FBI agent
He was
in the
sent out there
Badlands.
because of his Indian heritage and stuff to work with them.
It was brilliant. That was a really good movie. Graham Greene, one of my favorite actors, the Canadian. He was in that. But one of my favorites, all-time favorites. I just love the movie The Saint. I was unaware that, of course, that was James Bond played that back in the 60s.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That was originally a TV series, The Saint. But the
So
movie
you
was
mean
incredible.
James Bond? You mean Roger Moore or?
Yes, Roger Moore, James Bond.
Okay. Well, there was several. I mean,
but only one of them played the Simon
The
Templar.
James
And
Bond,
that was Roger Moore. He played Simon Templar. Yeah. No, but Val Kilmer, that was a fantastic movie. No, that's a line in there. Towards the end, they're in Oxford, and she's up there giving away free energy with cold fusion. And so he's a master for disguise. He's sitting next to the cops that have been hunting him down. And he just leans over and he goes, "So do you believe in this cold fusion mumbo jumbo?" He gets up and he walks away and he pulls the disguise off, and the cops like, "It's him!" They start chasing him. Anyway, it's a great movie. Anyway, Tretiak was the evil villain.
I had friends growing up as a kid used to joke about cold fusion and stuff. And
wow, if we could achieve cold fusion, wow, what an incredible source of energy that will be. You don't have to worry about any pollution. All you get out of it is water and energy, and we could always use more water. Unless it's Kevin Costner's Water World. Then
I
probably
just
have too much.
No, we gotta be careful with that. Then weird tattoos have to come into play at that point, right?
all I want,
And receding hairlines.
Yeah.
All I want, Chris, is to finish building my hydrogen generator. That's all I want to do.
You got a hydrogen generator? Wow. Is that green hydrogen?
No, but it's really they're simple to build. But I just I keep using tap water and that doesn't work.
Hydrogen
bubbles,
generator. Right?
it traps little cells of hydrogen, but it'll explode and stuff. It's great, but
that reminds me of Sheldon Cooper when the FBI came because he was using fissionable material to build a nuclear bomb. It would have worked. Anyway, he had that ray gun. It would have worked. Sheldon Cooper.
There was some kid I think it was an Eagle Scout project. He took all the radioactive things out of like watches and stuff that make it glow. And he collected so much of that actually was very toxic. They had to come in and actually take it away from him and clear out everything because he had so much radioactive material.
Wow. No, it's that radium. If you work in an old watch,
he was going to make I think I saw it make him a little mini power plant or something, whatever his project was. And they're like, you can have too much of this stuff. This can actually just kill you. Like, and so they had to take it all out of there.
Yeah, that stuff proven to be dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like Madame Curie.
And they used to tell those ladies when they were doing the watches, they were painting that under the watch dials and stuff. And they used to tell them to lick the brush. To keep the point on the brush. So that's what they were doing. I forgot it was lip something. And they would lick the brush and dip it in and then paint and lick the brush, dip it in.
A lot of cancer problems there.
Oh, yeah. It was bad.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So, New York City had a mayoral debate. Did you guys know about that?
Did not. Hopefully, the corrupted mayor will be ousted soon, but we'll see.
There's no such thing as a non-corrupt mayor.
I know, New York City. Which corrupt person are they going to replace?
Wait. I think Giuliani was pretty decent.
Well,
he was an incredible mayor.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did a lot to clean up New York City. Come to think of it.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be lovely. Now it's a cesspool again.
Yeah. After he was mayor, yes. Before that, oh man, New York City was a mess. Going to Hunts Point Market was terrible.
So here are the Democratic candidates for mayor: Andrew Cuomo, Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani, Adrian Adams, the city council speaker, Brad Lander, the city comptroller, Scott Stringer, former city comptroller, state senators Jessica Ramos and Zellner Myrie, Michael Blake, a former state assemblyman, and Whitney Tilson, former hedge fund executive. Is that like 9,000 people running for mayor of New York? Good Lord, what's going on there, man?
Now, is that just for the Democrat nomination? Or?
Yeah, that's just the Democrats.
Yeah.
Jeez. Cuomo. What is Cuomo doing running for office? That guy's disgraceful. And you know what they're talking about? They're talking about Trump immigration. Why don't you talk about cleaning up the crime in your city in Times Square?
Right. Yeah, immigration and Trump. Your city has plenty of immigrants. You're going to be fine. Everybody and their mom who from anywhere else wants to flock there. Especially people who want to work, be legitimate. I mean, you got a lot of people who want to do bad stuff for sure, but most people who want to immigrate here legally want to go to New York and work. So you're not going to have a problem with immigrants for sure.
Well, you can have New York. It's too expensive. It's too noisy. It's too dangerous. It's too crappy now. It used to be a lovely city, but anyway, no, thank you. I've been all over. I've been to Queens. I've been to Manhattan. I've been to Brooklyn. I've been to Staten Island. I've been all over. The only place I never go is the Hamptons. I've been out there.
That's because it's for rich people, Chris.
Oh, that's why I've never been there. I knew there's a reason.
Yeah, I think that's where rich people go. You
That's
know,
like
they
Beverly
flee
Hills.
the city. That's their summer homes.
It's like Beverly Hills. I haven't been there either. So
you're being asked, what office did you want to run for, Chris Wyatt?
What office did I want to run for? I want to run for senator from Pennsylvania for the U.S. Senate. I didn't run for that because I retired in October 2019. I planned on running in the 2022 election for that office that John Fetterman actually won. And what happened was the COVID scam came. I'm not from Pennsylvania, although I'd lived here for 4 years at that stage. And I was going to run here, and I had eyes on that. But the problem is that I wasn't known in the Republican Party, and I was going to use the time from January of 2020, all of 2020, all of 2021 to visit all of Pennsylvania's counties, to go to all of its cities, to meet people, to hear their challenges, to get out there, get my name out there, get my face out there, and then run as a Republican for the Senate seat. But what happened is that I couldn't go anywhere because of lockdown. And so 2020 was gone. 2021 came along and we still had restrictions on things. And in the meantime, 18 Republicans entered that race, including Dr. Oz and McCormick, who's now our state senator, or not our senator from Pennsylvania, but he's a billionaire. I can't compete against that. And Kathy Barnett, who is the product of her mother at 11 years old being raped. And I can't compete against that compelling story because people found that appealing. Not the rape, but the story that, her mother didn't have an abortion when she was encouraged to have an abortion as a 12-year-old girl giving birth. So I couldn't run for that seat, and I didn't. And then the next time around, I considered filing. But McCormick got himself in the race, and it was more important to get a Republican, and McCormick won by the skin of his teeth. So I would have been a distraction, and I'm also not known. But I ran for the state legislature last year, and I lost badly because for those offices around here, it's, are you a foreigner? You're a foreigner if you weren't born here and have lived here for 6 decades. Yeah. So I didn't win.
Yeah, we see people in Tennessee that does that, where they'll say somebody who moved here willingly, wanted to move here, or moved here because of a job and wanted to stay here. People will treat them as if they're foreigners somehow, and it's like they chose to come to your state and spend their money, to spend their life savings, spend their time here. Why are you going to treat them like that? You know what I mean?
Well, and more importantly,
you're making your place better.
For people like you and myself who gave our lives and dedicated our lives to defending the Constitution, therefore we couldn't live at our homes. So we're nomads, essentially. Where we decide to settle down, you should be grateful we settled in your state and paid taxes there and contributing as law-abiding members of society. And if anybody should be able to run for office, it should be us. They shouldn't hold this, local thing against us.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I can tell you, coming back home after the Army, in my hometown, in my home area, where I was born and raised, treated like that. And there's some people in the goody establishment Republicans, I'll say this outright, they still do that, still treat me just the same. I didn't go to the right high school, or I don't show up at their meetings, kissing their ring, wanting their support, wanting their help. It's like, I'm not going to sit there and be your lackey for 5-6 years. Maybe you'll invite me to run for something. I'm sorry. I'll just take the onus on myself and do it myself.
Well, it's just as well, gents. I haven't mentioned it yet, not to crow about it, but after years of shadow banning, it's been an incredible 5 months since the end of December. And earlier this afternoon, at about 5 o'clock, I surpassed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Nice.
You have been really growing, man. I
That's
noticed
good.
it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and I'm very grateful for it. I'm humble about it. When my 100,000 subscriber plaque comes, I already have a 12 gauge selected to take it in the woods and blow the smithereens out of it, and then show everybody how I feel about YouTube.
There you go. And for the listeners out there, we've renewed for another year. I talked to you.
Oh, that's right.
Today,
Yeah,
so
that's
we're good
right.
to go.
Yeah.
Oh,
you guys already re-upped?
Yeah, good for you. Good to go.
Yes, the pay was just too good. I couldn't resist.
Too good. You could not. George called me and he's like, "Hey,
the $397,000 a year he offered to pay me, I just couldn't pass it up."
That's where it's going. I knew it.
You didn't get that much. I'm sorry, Todd. I'm sorry.
George, I'm upset with you now.
Oh man, I blew it. So obviously, I'm the one that
divulging that information.
I got most of the money.
George, I'm going to have to call him and
never discuss the terms of your contract. Never.
Speaking of re-upping culinary pirates, I am sitting in the radio station. That's why it looks this way. But I do like your take on the dark web ops and stuff like that. I think I'm going to get me a Shodan search engine thing going and maybe get involved.
Well, I have to say this, John. That $397,000 annual salary that George has offered me, I'm willing to take a pay cut so we can update that 1973 board you've got in front of you there. It looks like something from WKRP in Cincinnati.
I'm not, dude. I like this board. This is a really good
town to town, up and down,
down.
Up and down on the
dial. If you've ever wondered whatever became of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati. Cincinnati, WKRP. Yeah, no, it's John, you like it because it's simple, man. There's no bells and whistles.
See, I'm the kind of guy that I want a 1980 something car. Okay. Yeah. I don't want the technology attached to it anymore. So I'm considering maybe, getting a newer car and dropping a mechanical motor into it. I don't know yet.
You don't like being tracked? Is that what you're saying?
I don't want none of the nonsense. I'm fed up with it. I got enough right here in front of me. All these computers and all this bullshit in front of me. And I'm chasing all the time because my microphone keeps dimming out. It doesn't do it on this system, but my home system, I'm always chasing after the microphone. I want to know why it's at 42% when it should be at 95%. Nobody can hear me and I don't like it.
Okay, well, let me put a brighter mood. Let me get you in a brighter mood there, John. I was going to suggest that Todd for Thanksgiving we do a turkey drop. What do you think?
Right here in Nashua, New Hampshire, they'll love it.
Let's go.
Are these going to be live turkeys or frozen turkeys?
I think we should drop frozen and live birds out of the helicopter.
Well, WKRP was a live turkey drop, but I'm with the frozen turkeys because they'll last longer.
The problem with dropping live turkeys from a helicopter is they'll get caught in a wash and be sliced apart by the blades. They get sucked up.
Because God is my witness. I thought turkeys could fly.
Well, they can. It's raised on a farm.
I've been in your state. I've been in Pennsylvania and had turkeys fly at the height of my windshield as I'm driving down the road at 70 miles an hour. They come out of trees because they don't really fly like, no.
I've seen turkeys fly for hundreds of meters, man. They can fly.
Well, yeah, they can pick up and they can kind of glide and stuff like that, but they're not going to fly like geese.
No, they're not. They're not going south for the winter. That's for sure.
And thankfully, they don't crap all over your yard like geese too.
Right, yeah,
terrible.
Because turkeys stay out of the yard because they're afraid of shotguns. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, those darn Canada geese are protected. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of buckshot laying around here. Yeah. And I can't stand those nasty, crapping, filthy, disgusting, honky, evil birds.
The red cock-headed woodpecker too. In the morning.
I don't mind the woodpeckers. Yeah, I don't mind that. But
they go away.
I kind of mind them when they're. I kind of mind them when I find them pecking on the side of my house.
They'll go away.
What do we get from Canada, man? We get obscurant smoke pouring over the border all the time, polluting the skies. We got Canada geese from coming Canada. I mean, what are we getting from Canada?
Their birds are dropping their junk on our lawns, man.
Canada Dry, maybe. I don't know. Is that something? That's horrible ginger ale. I don't like ginger ale.
Oh, I love that ginger ale. It's the best ginger ale. But it's not even from Canada. It's just a name. No, but listen, the Canadians are the largest.
Man, it's all about the Molsons.
Oh gosh. Get out of here. Molsons, Labatt's. No, I'm sorry.
That takes me back to the McKinsey brothers.
Oh yeah, no,
it's just like therapy,
Second City TV. But Canadians do have the largest air force in the world. I mean, those Canada geese are all actually Canadian drones, and nobody realizes that. So they're spying on us every day.
That could actually be a thing. Speaking of drones, how about that attack with Ukraine on Russia? I mean, they kind of you got to give it to them on the strategy.
That's a very good segue, John. You're getting good at this radio thing, man. That's a good segue. So yeah, now that you brought that up, I have a problem with that. He didn't sign the START treaty, START 2 especially, but the terms of it called for, open disclosure of where strategic nuclear weapons delivery systems are, like strategic bombers that carry nuclear weapons. And the idea was that we would disclose the bases so they could be inspected under, the treaty obligations. Like we used to have CFE Conventional Forces Europe, and they used to come and inspect our bases, and we would go there and inspect bases. Same thing with this. When we never signed it, they didn't sign it, but for decades, Russia and the United States have kind of abided by the terms of the treaty, even though they didn't sign it. And so we know where their bombers are, the backfire bombers, the Tupolovs. They know where our B-52s are. They know where our B-1 bombers are at. And oftentimes we leave them out on the runway because there's no reason to hide them. We're being transparent. Now Russia's going to hide all of its bombers. Otherwise, Ukraine's going to freaking slip, drones into the country and attack Vladivostok 8,000 miles away from Ukraine. That is not a defensive war. That is a foolhardy action, which is raising nuclear tensions. Zelensky must be removed from office. I don't care. Well, it's obviously not going to be the ballot box. Maybe a special forces team needs to go in there. But this guy is a danger to global security. He has jeopardized the nuclear safety of the planet with his stupidity. That's my thoughts. Todd?
No, I would agree with you. The guy's got to go. I mean, you think about it. You want to talk about freedom. You want to talk about having a nation, but then you suspend elections. You suspend religious freedom. You suspend all these things. Suspend political parties. You do not need to be in power, regardless if there's a war going on or not. I mean, especially if there's a war going on, because your people need to be free and understand why they're fighting. If they're fighting just to be oppressed by you, why the hell would I fight?
They don't understand why they're fighting when they're kidnapping them off the street and throwing them into a uniform.
Well, that's another thing too. I get you there.
Well, I have another question here. What happened to the GRU? What happened to the FSB? These guys are supposed to be world-class spies. They can't even find Ukrainians slipping into the country in Siberia, flying drones.
Right.
I mean, it's not like the drone fit in their front pocket. I mean, we're talking about trucks, man. This is like watching, that George Clooney movie, The Peacemaker, where they steal nuclear weapons. Remember that with Nicole Kidman? It's kind of far-fetched.
Been a minute.
Yeah.
I remember Broken Arrow with what was it?
Christian that's
Slater
John Travolta.
John Travolta, yeah.
Well, that's about as believable as Face Off.
Yeah, Face Off. Yeah, I know you got a Face Off machine in here. It's at the CIA apparently getting fixed. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I mean it's just ridiculous, guys. I mean this guy is a warmonger, and all the European heads of state are warmongers. You've got Germany, France, and the UK trying to push and sell weapons over there, making a ton of money off of selling weapons. We have been giving away our national treasure. If Elon Musk and Doge wanted to cut fraud, waste, and abuse, if they'd come in a few years ago, they could have saved $250 billion that we illegitimately gave to Ukraine for the past 3 years. Good Lord.
So Zelensky, what he did, he made people have to. I mean, we've always known that drones could be weaponized, but now he's made people have to rethink their defenses.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we sort of knew that already. It's just that no one's done it. This is the most audacious drone strike in the history of warfare thus far. It's look, as an intelligence professional, it's very impressive what they pulled off.
Right.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
And by the same token, where is the FSB? Where is the GRU? What happened to Russian intelligence?
Yeah.
They're about as useful as Democrats from Massachusetts.
Oh man.
Holden in the chats here said more like the sum of all fears, meaning the movie in the book Sum of All Fears.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they put the suitcase nuke, if you will, in the football stadium in Baltimore.
So knowing that this station reaches Lowell, Massachusetts, the views and opinions of Chris Wyatt are above Chris Wyatt and Chris Wyatt alone.
Oh, no, it's Todd McKinley as well. And while you're on that, Todd, here's a chance to join me in this too. Congressman Seth Moulton from Massachusetts, who runs unopposed as a Democrat, called President Trump a racist because President Trump is bringing white Afrikaners to the United States. Except that that's not what President Trump is doing, Congressman Seth Moulton, a one-tour Marine. You know why he did that, just like John Kerry, to get credit in bona fide so he can run for office and claim to be a patriot. This guy believes in abortion. He believes in the green energy scam. Anyway, so he called President Trump a racist. But the problem for this fool in Congress is that the program is open to South African nationals who are of Afrikaner ethnicity or a racial minority, which include brown people in the form of Indians and coloreds, and far more of them than the white people. So once again, the idiot of the week, and we have a lovely word for that in South Africa. It's called Mampara.
And you use the word colored technically correct in the way you said it there.
Oh yeah, for South Africa. We're not talking about 1950s,
Right.
You know,
I want to point that out.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, because someone will lose their minds because they're just ignorant of how that word. That's actually an ethnic group, and it's a term of pride amongst those people. No, but even the use of color in America, I mean, it's the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So why can't we say colored? Because colored is what black folks and white folks used to describe black folks for well over a century in this country. It wasn't a derogatory term. Anyway, just people are crazy. That's like music. You remember, it used to be soul music. No. It's urban. Urban. What is that? What is it? Is it got the L train running above it? What's going on here? I mean,
shaking the apartment.
Yeah. Am I going to get Barry White with an overtrack of the L train in Chicago?
Oh yeah. Bring him
up. Come on, that's urban music. Urban. So like white people don't live in urban centers. What? Come on.
What, more people live in urban areas than black people if you talk about over the entire country. You know, come on. Of
course. But, you know, they always got to rename things. It's not soul anymore. It's urban. I remember that. I went to the PX. It was actually the BX at Rhine Mine Air Base, and I'm looking for some music, Barry White and somebody else. And I'm looking under soul, and I asked, where's soul? Soul? What are you talking about, sir? It was a young person working at APHIS. And I said, yeah, this person, that person. Oh, you mean urban? Urban? Where did that come from? It's like 1987, I think. I'm like, urban? Who came up with that?
Some APHIS giant, I guess.
Chris wanted to know where Soul Train was, and all of a sudden it's not there anymore.
I love Soul Train, man. Don Cornelius.
Good music.
It's fantastic. This week our special guest.
Great dancing too, for crying out loud. We can't say Soul Train. Come on.
That's right. It's Cool in the Gang once again here. I'm Don Cornelius, baby. Welcome back to Soul Train. That guy was so cool, Don Cornelius.
This is Cool the Game. First thing comes out is "In It's Ladies' Night."
And the feeling's right.
Oh, what a night. Oh, what a
night.
Yeah, so it's not dropping in with the bass.
Great music, man. Yeah. Great music. Yeah.
This is not a traditional radio. This is a talk radio station, right? Or should we just sing on here? I don't know.
We probably should do listeners a favor and stop singing, but
I think that's probably should be doing.
Well, that's in the show anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Too late now. You suffered.
But you know, some groups have their last hurrah, and the best song they ever had was in the 1980s, "Treat Her Like a Lady." That came back out in the 1980s. Treat her like a lady. Anyway, but so I went to buy some CDs because it was still CDs time back in the day,
right?
And I'm looking for soul music, and the guy's looking at me like I'm from Mars. Like, you don't know what urban music is? No, I don't. I'm sorry. I guess I'm an old guy at 24. I don't know what it's called.
Right.
Oh my
Sorry,
goodness.
sir. Sorry, sir. What? I'm
Sir.
probably older than you.
Dude, you're older than me. I got milk dripping from the back of my ear. Call me sir. Anyway, yikes. What a time it was. What a time indeed. No, I miss the 80s, man. The best decade ever. Hands down.
Yep. There we go. I think that's the end of the show right there. Heck yeah.
Did John go quiet on us? Did he like the 70s?
No, I'm here. And there it is.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. And thanks a lot for tuning in. God bless. Thank you to our guest tonight, Pastor Jackson Lahmeyer. Cheers. See you next week, folks. Bye.